understand something.
The thing that I like most about being a dad is that I see that I'm about to impact the world. Yes, sir. What's up? It's your boy Humble Dad back with another edition of Humble Dad Podcast. Got a great show for you this evening. How do I know? Because we usually do. All right, so today's topic is about why can a man find a marriage-minded woman? And so today, finding a woman who's truly marriage-minded can feel like searching for a needle in a haystack. And I've heard this several different times from gentlemen. So with social media, career ambitions, and modern relationships trends shaping the expectations, obviously, the question is, where are the women who still value marriage? And it seems to every time you look to a particular show that they will say that they are ready to be married. But the question that I have is, are they hiding, or are men just looking in the wrong places? And so today's show will be about us deep diving, excuse me, into what it really means to be marriage minded, and the qualities that men should look for, and whether the dating game is helping or hurting Black love specifically. So I hope you tune in and share your thoughts, and we're going to have this conversation. And so before we get started, our question for this evening for the panel is, what qualities do you believe define a woman who is truly ready for marriage? First up to the plate, welcome Sir Hale in the building.
What's going on, sir?
Sir,
Good to see you.
speaks in the bill.
So that's a good question. I think there's a couple of things. The first thing for me is her faith. I think to me, a woman's faith in God is the biggest thing, because if she's faithful and she's disciplined when it comes to God, then certainly I've got something to look forward to. But if she's having a struggle there, then we're going to have some problems. So her faithfulness, her ability to learn. This to me is one of the most attractive things. Women who are still able to learn and who are still curious about improving themselves and teaching and becoming better. That to me is attractive. And then somebody who's a good listener. So those are a few things that I think are qualities. But that first one, the relationship with God, to me is the biggest thing.
That's a good one. I appreciate you for being here, homie. We're going to get into that one for sure. Hey, let's welcome up none other than the Hulk Hogan in this piece. Prototype in the building.
Man, I gotta get my soundboard back together. It's amazing that already I disagree with Sir Hell, man. It's amazing. We ain't even started the show yet, but
We have started the show, by the way.
I mean we did, but we 3 minutes in. Oh man, but I'm gonna say what I think first. I think the only thing a woman truly needs is openness and so not like just be open and be willing, like, and not have that attitude. You know what I'm saying? Like not be non-combativeness, right? So not be combative and be open. I think those two things make a woman ready to be married.
Man, that's good. Okay, so I think y'all have some similarities.
So we can learn.
Yeah.
What exactly do you disagree with?
Because like being open don't mean you can learn. That just means
That's exactly what learning is
No.
being open to learn.
No, I didn't say being open to learn. I just said be open.
So
Right.
give us
So
an example of being open. A woman.
you meet a woman, she be like, I don't like fish. And then the dude be like, if I cook you fish, you'll like it. And she be like, okay. And she eats your fish. Like that's being open. She ain't learning nothing. Like, you know what I'm saying? You feeding her something that she's used to not liking, but she went, she ate it anyway, and oh, I like it because you made it. Like, you know what I'm saying? But that's not learning or trying to improve or anything like that. You know what I
Then
mean?
another man says, "Hey, I can make fish better." Oh, open. Okay. Then you gonna wish he had some religion. You see how
Even
this
the
works?
religion, even the religion thing is, you know what I'm saying, doesn't work for me because
You know I'm gonna attack this argument from all sides, right?
please do, you can, and it's whatever, but
Typically, women with faith are reported to be more faithful. Marriages typically last longer. That faith component is a very big thing across all cultures.
Yeah, I would say to add on to maybe exemplify or amplify what you're saying, Sir Hell. I would say a woman who's actually walking out the faith,
Mhm. Absolutely.
not
Yes.
one that not one that just says I'm a Christian, right? If she just saying I'm a Christian, but she goes to church every Sunday, but there is no lifestyle to match it when she get out of church, then it's all for naught, right? And then what I mean by carrying it out is that she sees herself as a helpmate to the person that is going to be her husband,
Mhm.
right? And I think that part, and if she's able to do that, then the other parts I believe will fall in line. The fruits of the spirit, for sure. The Proverbs 31 woman, I think it would all be cohesive. But I think what prototype is saying, you don't believe that religion has anything to do with it.
no.
Okay, explain.
um Unless you're talking about when you say religion to me, I'm only thinking about one religion, and that's being a Christian,
Yes.
right?
About being
Now,
a
if you want to say all religions, you know what I'm saying, if you're adding Muslims and all types, I mean, they have different culture, so there's a cultural pressure to uphold, right? Now, when it comes to Christianity, there's no cultural pressure really, because we're so loose with the terms. And remember, I think we had a whole show on defining believer in Christianity, and there's a reason why we rather say I'm a believer versus I'm a Christian. You know what I'm saying? Just because culturally, the moral cultural standard is just too flexible. So that's why I would say it's not necessarily um, a religion thing. Now if you're influenced by a whole culture, meaning your mom, your dad, your whole family is geared around how Muslims or whatever the correct way to say should act. You know what I'm saying? You got a whole country, if you're thinking about, Pakistan, like, you know what I'm saying, a whole country geared towards upholding that their, I don't want to say biblical, but their, you know, Quran law or whatever. That's a different kind of pressure than somebody just morally on their own making the right decisions. Um, Also, I think that women that like I know a lot of like Nuwapian. I don't know if y'all know what that is. Um
what is it?
Nuwapian women. Like, so it's a religion, but it's
Okay.
like, those like little off herbalists, them
Yeah,
people that just go off and grow their
Asia.
hair a while. Them people loyal to each other, and they could be living in with no shoes in a whole. Like, you understand what I'm saying? Like, two crackheads be loyal to each other, bums on the street be loyal to each other. So I don't think that religion have anything to do with, and like I said, religion as I don't think Christianity has anything to do with a person's loyalty. So I'll say that there.
What you got, Sir Hill?
Well, so I understand what he's saying. It's just the data doesn't support that. The data supports that people, particularly those who have more education and who have faith, the religion is so big. It's that it doesn't even just improve relationships. It improves health and memory and cognition and healing. Is like, so the reason I always bring this up is because in our culture today, we leave out everything but religion. Like, we want to have, well sayings, good podcasts, affirmations. And I as a Christian, want people to understand that God made all that stuff. So certainly, if He's behind it, is more likely to see to succeed. That's what I said before. Her relationship with God has to be on point. Like, that's the reason I didn't say she has to go to church. I made that distinction that her relationship with God has to be on point, because if God has her heart, then her heart is in the right place. And how she treats me is going to be an extension of that. And then me to her as well.
Yeah, that makes
I,
sense to me.
I think women got a mis- misinterpretation of the relationship with God. The relationship men have with God and relationship women have with God is two different things, and trying to understand it from that realm. I feel like um those so-called my relationship with God women never get married. Those be those be the prime ones never getting married because they putting Jesus first, or they in and out of divorces, but they're holier than thou. Like them holier than thou women be single, divorce. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, so the relationship with God thing just throws me off because just my anecdotal experience. They don't
So
be married.
Christian throws you off, religion throws you off.
No,
Now relationship
so
throws you off.
not religion because I explained that, right? Like if we're saying if you're adding in numbers from all religions, you got a valid point. I would agree with you because, like I said, there's a cultural standard behind those other religions. I'm separating Christians from.
You don't think that there's anybody that hold Christians accountable to the defiance as it relates to being a husband or a wife? Is that what you're saying?
The defense in all, right? I mean, because like I said, if you come from a Pakistani family, you
Yeah,
got everybody in the family holding you to a standard. Like, you know
that's
what I'm
what I'm
saying?
saying. That's what I'm saying. You're saying that there are not really Christian households that are holding their family members accountable to what it is that they say that they follow. That's what
The
you're saying.
the pressure's not the same. No.
Yeah, I'm with you. I understand that. Hmm.
That's a good point. But just looking at the data, the concept of women today not wanting marriage, like it's declining all over the world, right? So, but the if you look back and trace back that and just for the sake of this conversation, when I say religion, I'm only talking about Christians. I'm only talking about us. Um, your faith walk, your belief system makes a significant impact. The one thing that you don't want is somebody who don't have anything that they measure themselves by. Some of the most faithful women who I have seen have been women who, because they fear God, they respect their man, right? And if that is out of whack and they don't have that fear there, they have no practice on how to give it to you. She doesn't even practice it on your father. And so that's why I said her relationship with God has to be important, because if it's not, you're going to feel the effects of that. If God can get through to her, like you can, Jim said this is an important thing, and you will see it because her behavior is the evidence of her relationship, not just her words.
How can
And this
God
is for
get
men
through
as
to a
well.
woman when she's not around any men?
Oh, say it again.
How can God get to any woman when she is not around any men? Right? Like if most of us don't, if most of us come from single parent homes, God's not getting to her like we think she's like we think.
That's not true.
Without the relationship with a man, she's not getting the God we think she getting.
How could that be true? Like God, I mean, Jesus
They
interrupted.
don't judge each other. They don't judge each other. They don't hold each other accountable. Like you,
Right.
that's
I
relevant.
understand
That's
that. I
relevant.
understand that.
So
That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying based on the what you just said is that how is God going to get to the woman if there is no man? So I'm addressing that particular point, and I'm saying that God, she should have a relationship with God before she even tries to have a relationship with a dude.
the only
Right?
way she can understand a relationship with God is if she has a relationship with a father, with her father,
Not
with a
necessarily.
man in her life. She don't understand. It's not the same relationship. I don't know if y'all ever talked. There's when you talk to a woman and her ideologies about God, I already know how to take that advice opposed to talking to a man and his theory about God. When I have a conversation with a man of God, that advice hits way different than having a conversation with a woman of God. You could just see the lack of accountability and balance. Like, you know what I'm saying? It just don't line up. It's the same. So that's what I'm saying. The way we experience God and what we know of God is not the same relationship.
Right, but I'm saying that a man can, I'm sorry, a woman can experience God without a man. Do they have different responses? Possibly. But if you look through scripture, Jesus encountered women, right? And he was God, and their disposition changed as a result of that, right? So I think that what you're saying is that they experience God differently. That may be possible. I mean, I'm not a woman to be able to identify how they experience God. But once again, a woman needs to be in relationship to God to understand how to be submissive, how to honor, how to respect, how to have discipline, and understand that God has a mission higher than hers. And if she is able to do that, then she is able to understand what a true man looks like who is following out the Christ, so that she can follow that man. And so, with that being said, I think Sir Hell, you wanted to say something before I transition.
No. Yes, so I want to agree to the point that so relationship with God does not eradicate the need for relationships with people. So I do understand the point, and that is a very accurate thing. But I like to be careful because God always blows stuff up. Like when Mary was impregnated, God went directly to her, and then he came to Joseph. You got the woman at the well. You got the woman who prayed at the temple all day and all night. I'm simply saying that we don't get to legislate how God speaks to anyone. But the other point to this is important, that we don't know how to translate the ethics we get from God unless we have practice with people. So something you said that I think is very true is that the conversation you would hear from a man versus a woman in terms of accountability and discipline is based on how we're cultured. So we're cultured to be leaders and to be responsible from the very beginning, and so it makes sense why the conversations are different. But just like a woman could take accountability from us, we could also learn grace from her, because where women will be willing to accept grace and mercy, that's something a lot of us men sometimes struggle with experiencing that. So this is why when we come together, we're able to take some of the best from each other and see a different aspect of God that we couldn't see apart from each
I
other.
don't think
And
we're
this is why
supposed to
we
take a
become
woman's.
one in marriage.
I don't think we're supposed to take a woman's grace, because that's the very thing that's going to burn us. You know what I'm saying? Women have the grace. They lack the details to foresee in their grace what's actually going to hurt a situation. You know what I'm saying? They want to bring in stray cats. You know what I mean? And we know we're allergic to cats. They want to or feed it. They want to feed a cat, thinking, oh, I'm just feeding the cat, this little stray cat. And I'm like, no, get that cat out of here. You know what I'm saying? I don't want nothing, nothing but
No, no,
that
no.
cat.
A woman's grace is not just so that's a woman's grace is what keeps men healthy and active and alive. We do far better when we have women who are not hardened like we are. So this is why we become one. If we become one with somebody as hard as us, listen, we're gonna have a very miserable life. We have to have a woman
I'm not
to
I'm
help.
not saying they need to be hard.
Oh,
I'm
let me
just
finish though. Like we have to have a counterpart who gives us ingredients that we wouldn't have. Now, let me give you an example. So you have a daughter, right?
yeah.
Now, don't you treat, not raise, but don't you handle your daughter a little bit differently than you do your son?
No.
Yeah, all right, yes, all right, whatever. I've got two daughters and two sons, and you physically cannot handle them the same way because they are physiologically different, and there's reasons for that. Because they are different, we have to adapt to them and find ways to do with them. Ethics, we teach them the same thing, but the way that you handle them are different. The Bible talks about women are the weaker vessel. You physically can't handle them the same way. And it is because when we get married, it teaches us a different side of God that we couldn't see without the woman that's in our lives.
That's a fact. That's a fact. I'm gonna transition. If we need to, we'll
I
come back to
don't
this.
want to. Let me stay here for one brief second. I mean, it's just
Okay.
it's the three
No
of
worries.
us.
Okay.
I don't I don't physically do anything to any of my children. So yes, I treat them all the
Wrestle, sports, dunk
yes.
on a football.
Yeah, my daughter was an All American in softball.
You
I used
wrestle
to
with her?
yes
I'd
wrestle.
like to see
Oh,
that.
I'm telling. What am I going to lie for? You know what I'm saying?
No,
So
no, I don't believe that you're not wrestling, but it's not the same thing as you would
I'm
with a boy.
telling you, I'm telling you what it is. I'm telling you the same thing. I didn't treat any of them differently. You know what I'm saying? Like I've gotten different reactions from all four of them. All four of them are different. You know what I'm saying? So I don't treat all of them exactly the same in their own little niches, but at the same time, I treat them all on the same standard. If I
Ethics,
rough
I
house with
know.
them, no, but all my boys are different. So I treat everybody as their individual selves, but I don't take away my how harsh I am, or how hard I lay the hammer on any of them. You know what I'm saying? Everything's the same for me.
So you saying they all have the same standard, but you interact with them differently based upon their personalities?
Right. Because
Okay.
I have my oldest son don't like sports. So no, I'm not going to make him play sports. But my daughter, she plays sports. So it was I trained with her on an aggressive nature. We drilled and trained like she was a boy. My son didn't like sports, so I didn't do that with him. We went IT, we went tech. So I fed him coding. My third kid, he's different. I don't roughhouse with him the same way because he don't necessarily like that. I get a different reaction. Now, my babies is something else. Like, you know what I'm saying? So I interact with their personalities differently. But as far as I'll do everything with all of them, then you know what I'm saying? It just is what it is. So
So
nobody's
Humble
like,
Dad,
oh, this is my little girl. I'm treating her like a little girl type thing. I didn't raise her with that.
so that's what I'm saying. Ethics, I agree. Like, and I think today more men have to treat their daughters with accountability, with responsibility, more so now than ever before. I'm simply saying that we have to account for the differences, and we do. Like the reason we get married to women is because they're different from us. If there's no other reason to get married to them other than that they're different from us, and I'm saying that when we respect those differences, then we can pull and appreciate them. Would you agree with that?
No, I got married because I didn't want to have sinful sex. But go ahead.
And so you needed to have children too, right?
So you had to have a woman to do that, though.
Like, come on, I could.
I
The
mean,
argument is
I'm landing. Like if it wasn't for my beliefs, I wouldn't be married. Like if I wasn't
Right,
a
but,
Christian, I
but,
wouldn't be
but,
married.
but at the same time, she is different from you because you could not have a baby with a man.
The baby
And you
is
can have and you can have
the
sex.
baby is a repercussion of me having fun.
Okay, I got you. But I'm
Like
saying that
I didn't like, oh, I'm gonna have some babies. No,
you got
it's a
okay,
sad, it's something that happens when you're having fun.
that's fair. Okay, but the
but whether
premise
it was direct or
said,
indirect,
Rahel was saying that we married them because they're different from us. So one of the main things that is different is their
No,
genitalia.
I married so so I could have sex and not go to
you
hell.
needed somebody different for you to do
Right,
that.
and to be different.
Like
No,
this is a very simple
y'all not making
physiological
this.
argument here.
I'm telling you why. I'm telling you why I value marriage.
And
That's all I'm
we're not
saying.
asking about your
So what
why. We're talking
but
about
what
the
you're
what.
saying is we're on two different pages because y'all are trying to put this in one lane, and I'm telling you, no, it is this.
No, we're not trying to put anything in the late. I'm just responding to what you're saying.
You're
Like
saying because it's different, and I'm not saying it's not because it's different. Like
I'm
the fact
saying,
that she's different from me has nothing to do with the reason why she's my wife.
you do realize that that's the most ridiculous statement you can make, right? Like,
No,
I
it's
didn't marry
not.
her because she's different from me. I married her because I wanted to have fun, but I can only have fun with the woman who's very much physiologically and psychologically different from me.
No, you're missing it
It's a,
on
it's a
purpose.
self-defeating argument.
It is
Like
not a
the
self-defeating
reason this
argument.
is
You or
important,
purpose. I don't know what that fallacy is called when you purposely misinterpret what I'm saying, but that is what you're doing.
I repeated what you said. It can't
No,
be a
you didn't.
fallacy. I'm
All right,
repeating
so
it.
I
I'm just
go.
I'm,
This is what is being said. So Sir Hill said that we marry women because they're different from us. It does, and different could fall in a multitude of categories, right?
He said I. I think he said I, not we.
He said
So
men.
that's what
you, we, men.
He
he
said,
said I, and I'm saying no. That's not why I. You can say we. If we put in a global,
okay,
go ahead with it. I'm saying I did not get married for that reason, but go ahead.
okay. So if she was a man, would you have married her?
No,
Okay, that rests my case. So here's the
that's
next
not a rest the
question.
case. Again, that's a fallacy.
Here's
Be
the question.
true. Be true with your intentions. That's all I ask.
All time. So here's the next question, because we was talking about the church and that she needs to be well, Sir Hill did, and then Proto said if it's in a larger scale as it relates to religion. Sir Hale made it more specific to Christianity as it relates to how women should connect themselves to God. All right, and one of those ways is hopefully they go to church so that they can get some learning. If they don't go to church, hopefully they are in the Word, learning about what God has for them and what He wants for them as a woman of God and as a wife. So my question is, what role does the church play in shaping women's views on marriage today? Because I know at my church that there's a heavy conversation around marriage. If they're single, if they're single, or if they're married, they're talking to them about how they should. Matter of fact, she just had a message a few weeks ago. She was telling young ladies like, listen, you need to be in your word and not rushing the process. That's what this one lady said. So my question to you is, what role does the church play if these women are supposed to be um, doing a good job as far as following Christ? What you got, Sir Hill?
Really good question. So, two perspectives here. So, there is the should and there is the does. So, the does currently, without strong, stable male leadership, there is no way to model this, right? Everything just becomes just this philosophical dissertation about what it should be. So, the role of the church is to be a place where we're trying to get this thing right, right? So, when I grew up, one of the things that I was blessed to see is that back then when they got married, the pastors stayed with their wives. And part of the reason they were able to stay is because the church was filled up either with women who were married as well and older, or those who were widowed and had wisdom to pass down. So when they had difficult times, they weren't going on talk shows or podcasting, or going to some third party to get somebody to agree with them. They were focused on pleasing God, and the people who were there surrounded them, and the community wanted to see their marriage be a success. It kind of speaks to what Prototype was talking about earlier about those societal pressures. And I like to use those societal constraints. Like, we don't want you to do something stupid because we're not just thinking about y'all two. We're thinking if y'all divorce, what this is going to do to the children, and then to the church, and then to the community, and so on and so forth. So the role of the church, we are supposed to be the place where we're not just students hearing the lecture. We're the ones doing the science project. We're trying to see how it works. We're trying to do it. We're trying to prove what we believe, and then provide some results so we can do, some show and tell. We want to be able to say that, listen, we took all these ingredients, we put these together like we followed the formula, and then here are the results. And I think that once the church gets back to a place where we are show and tell, and there's Bible for that. Like, it talks about somewhere in Matthew that we are the salt and light, and that we're supposed to let our light shine. What we do for Christ is supposed to be seen. So the role of the church is we're supposed to take this information and we're supposed to be doers of the word, so that people can see this and have an example of what to follow. Now, if the next question is if we are there, I will say there is a shift. And I do believe people like myself, I spent 4 weeks talking to my church about relationships and marriages. I mean, I spent time breaking down husbands and wives and parents and children. And this is what we must do. I confirm that by me being married going on 18 years together with my wife for 20 years, and us raising 4 children together. Right. So we have to be the examples, and it just can't be something, we've got these great points that we say, or these great philosophical ideas. We have to model it. So that's the role of the church. We're supposed to be doers of the word, not hearers only.
Oh man, that sounds like a word. Hey, Proto, what you got?
I kind of agree with Sir Hell.
I'm sorry.
I agree. I agree with Sir Hell. Right? Like, can you hear me? You can hear me?
Well, it sounded weird because you said you agree with Sir Hale, so I was checking my sound.
Oh man, no. So it's like, along the lines of what it should be doing versus what it is actually doing. What it should be doing is giving everybody the standard and the ability to be discerned and make a choice and to go through with it. But what it's actually doing, like I said, I think what it's actually doing is keeping women single, and they're not able to make a choice, or like something is wrong with women in the church where they can't get married. They're getting divorced 3 times. They're still picking drug dealers. Like the women in the church are still picking drug dealers. They're only going after the pastor. They're having affairs. Like, you know what I'm saying? There is something going on in the church where, like, a good man that's going to church to be on the solid and straight can't find a good woman in the church. Like, you understand? It's just like it's become the hardest connection ever to kind of mix and mingle, because I used to go to church, and people were like, yeah, you should be dating somebody in the pew because y'all getting the same kind of teaching, and y'all getting fed the same, and can mix and mold like that. But you know what I'm saying? But the person in the pew, the girl in the pew will look at you like, you in the pew with me. What I want with you? You know what I'm saying? I want the youth pastor, or I want this guy, or you know what I'm saying? And when I dated the churchy girl, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, her thing was, oh, you're gonna become a pastor. You're gonna become a pastor. I'm like, I have no desire to become a pastor. But that's what, like, most church women are going after, just men who want to be pastors. And I think if that's not your calling, or if that's not who you are, or you know what I'm saying, it's putting the wrong set of, they're not looking at it with the same balance. They're not looking at it like with the same thing. Like, Moses was Moses, but he wasn't a pastor in that regard. He wouldn't say I'm a pastor, because he's like, I'm farming. Why do you want me to go do this? I can't even speak right. But yet he was married with a family. You know what I'm saying? So, like, the women looking for just good old men is I don't think are really in the church. The church girls are really just looking for pastors.
That's interesting because I think I would say that I'm spoiled when it comes to churches, as far as the ones that I've attended. You know, the three for sure that I've attended in my adult life, and the first one was Nacogdoches Bible Fellowship, which is a subsidiary of Tony Evans Church. And when I was there, it was a lot of young people getting married. It was a lot of individuals looking for spouses, and the way that they ran the church was from a position of valuing marriage, from the pastor to even the senior person that was over the marriage department, so to speak. Shout out to Brother D. And so I remember when I got married in 2007, I want to say at least five people in our small church got married that same year, right? And all of them are still married to this day, right? So then I move forward when I come to Cross City in Irving, and not Irving, sorry, in Euless, and the there were different Bible studies around marriage. There was the pastor edifying his wife on a regular basis. There were marriage seminars. There were marriage conferences. There were marriage comedians. Like, it was so much centered around the marriage concept and understanding how it benefits you as a person that's inside of the marriage, how to communicate with one another inside the marriage. Then I'm at this current church, NBC City in Irving, and it's the same thing, which is you need to, as a husband and a wife, y'all need to come together and work together to make sure that this goes well, and Christ got to be at the center. And are there single people in there? Obviously. But I definitely understand what you're saying, Prototype, when you say, okay, if they're telling us to go to church to find these women, why is it so hard for us to find them in the place that they say to go? Right. And so I think the role that the church needs to play is similar to what I just kind of described. Like, there needs to be a place where singles could feel comfortable enough in being single and not pressured to be married. I think that there should also be uh, places of Bible studies and groups and communities where individuals that, even if they are single, that they can see how married couples interact with one another. Because, as you know, in some communities, if you're not married, then you can't be in that community, right? So how is a person supposed to observe something that they trying to obtain if they never observe it and be able to acquiesce to it? What you got, Sir Hill?
Humble there. So everything you said is right, but there was some more details we got to get in here. So the Bible talks about the need for elders. We need the elder women to teach the younger women. So if in the absence of elders, people with real experience who can speak to specific situations, and let's really deal with this. When people are getting married today, we got people who have had more sexual experiences. We've got adverse childhood experiences. We've got trauma. We've got a lot more to unpack now than we do before. So if you send somebody into the church who's got all this baggage, all this stuff, and we're still speaking the aspirational message of how it should be without dealing with the core of where they actually are, we're going to set people up to fail, because they're going to get married and they're going to try to represent a healthy marriage, but the core of who they are, all that trauma, all that baggage isn't dealt with, and that's going to destroy their marriage. So what we have to do is we have to have wise women who who either they are married and they're happily married and they are working on their marriage, or those who have been and developed wisdom, and their goal is to train women on how to be wives. And this training is not just what you should do, it's dealing with the women on how they are. So if you've got a particularly bad attitude that's going to be adversarial to a good marriage, we have to address that bad attitude. If you do not know how to keep a house clean, we've got to start dealing with that, because no man wants to come home to a dirty home. Like, if you don't know how to raise children, we have to talk about what mothering is like. Mothering is not you buying the nice shoes and clothes and taking pictures. It is about what you put into the child's heart, their template and their safety. Like, it is these core things that I think the church is missing, because we're saying stuff that's marketable to the masses when there are strategic things that need to be niched down for us to talk about. And if we don't prepare women on this level, they're not going to succeed at marriage. In the church, you will start to see the demographics of those who get divorced are between 2 and 4 years, and then like that 5 to 8. And it is not because we're not surrounded by marriages, is that we aren't receiving that relatable information that really speaks to where I'm at. Husbands who are getting married who struggle with pornography. And of course, we know that pornography, that in and of itself, that addiction houses something else, typically loneliness, depression, or stress, or even low self-esteem. So the church, we've got to kind of get away from that superficial surface. It sounds good, it's the right thing to say, and really deal with the core of people and really prepare them for marriage. Because when you're becoming one with somebody, everything comes. So your bad comes, my bad comes, and if we both got bad stuff blending together, we're going to become monsters to each other. And so this is what needs to happen. The older women need to be teaching the young. This is what I'm saying. This is because so many older women want to act like younger women. So they have no point of reference to go to, because their elders want to be their peers. And then it's the same thing with a man. If a man isn't established and confident in where he is, he's competing with somebody younger, because most men judge you by your money, not your character. And if he feels like you have more, he feels like he can't say something to you, right? So older men, older women have to be established within themselves, independent of what they have, and then work with the younger people to develop their core, because marriage is not a sprint, it is a marathon.
That's agreed. But I guess I agree, but I want to say that I do think that single people. Let's say I do think single people should have an opportunity to be in on a conversation where men and women that are married are interacting with one another. I do agree that the wise women need to come forward and teach the younger women, but I believe that they were teaching them through the actions in which they were displaying by being a wife to their husband. So I would say that, because one of the reasons what we're facing today is that not a lot of people get to see what a marriage looks like, right? So if you don't get to see what a marriage looks like, then how can you be a good a spouse inside of that marriage? And so I'm suggesting that that churches open it up to, when you're having these meetings, these gatherings. Yes, you can have a singles meeting, you can have a marriage meeting, but there should be a combination of the two, so that each one of them can see how the other interacts and be able to communicate how they should move forward, especially if they want to be married. Because I'll give you an example. I remember when I didn't have as much money. We needed to stay with somebody, and I was married to Jen, and I was like, we got to go out to Mama D and Daddy D's house, because I just can't afford what it is that we need to do in order to get to where we need to be. So we went to go stay with them, and we got to see what a married couple looked like. I think they had been married 20 years maybe at the time, and we got to see them argue and how they came back from an argument. We got to see how they love each other. We got to see how they raised their own kid, and we got to then discuss, like, okay, I like that, I didn't like this, but I see what they were trying to get to. And so we were able to see for the first time what it looked like to be married, even though we had went through marriage counseling. Another thing was, when we were being out there, allowed us to also be counseled and to be talked to about, okay, listen, when this happens, this is a way to respond to that. So I think that it's a combination of the two. And the church definitely needs to do a better job if we're talking about them being the pillars of the community. But you guys
It's a,
say,
I'm not sure if you think we disagree. I'm agreeing with what you're saying.
yeah,
So that's what I'm saying. Like I don't even really believe in the singles ministry. Like I believe in a relationship ministry, right? So that's what I'm saying. We have to have the women to speak to, because typically all we get is the sermon. And sometimes you don't need the sermon, you need a conversation. And I'm promoting women doing a better job of being more vocal about it, because that's where the struggle is. Like a lot of men are trying to teach women something that women are supposed to be teaching them, but a lot of the women haven't been taught. Right, so I'm saying we can't keep the singles over there like they are disease, and then they're cured once they get married. It does have to be some integration there.
that's a fact. Proto, what you got? You thinking of something?
Um, I think it still doesn't solve the number one issue unless the ministry is talking about how to discern who a partner, an efficient partner might be. If it's not talking about that, then having a marriage view and this and that, I think that's it's all pointless if we don't know how to start and get them together in the first place. You know what I'm saying? And
Back that
I
to
think,
the
like I said, the main issue for I seen was that church women only want pastors, and for a common for a working man who's just going to go get the word, he's not good enough for a church girl. Like that's what I see.
yeah.
So
You
I'm
saying
going to disagree with you there. And the reason I say this is because we didn't spend the last 20 years, God's going to send your husband and you're about to feel him. You're going to see him. So we didn't teetered on discernment, that we don't no longer talk about discipline. You want to figure out if a man is your husband, first of all, be a wife, look at his discipline. I think in the church, I have seen preachers preach about, if he don't have A1 credit, if he's not making this amount of money, if he's not driving this, if he's not ready for this, then he's not your husband. And a lot of those women who believed in that because they were discerning, they missed over on men who were, like, let's say they're in the pews. You judge that man in his first year in the pew, and you did not know what God had in store for him on the fourth year of being in that pew. And so if you just focus on discernment without understanding discipline, you can't see that that man is going to become what he's going to become 4 years from now. But you don't get to reap the benefit of that if you don't put in those 4 years of labor. You got to get your education in marriage. And so discernment is key, because this helps you to understand the spiritual aspect. But one of the things that our women don't have, and let's take it back to something that you said earlier, it is the fact that they don't know what accountability looks like. We're talking about the very tangible things, the thing about being responsible. So we teach discernment, we don't teach discipline. And this is why women go marry men who don't have jobs, who are not working, who live off of them, because they're discerning and looking for potential and not looking at, but now they're not looking at discipline.
Can I think you guys are still missing it. Y'all watch Pop the Balloon?
yes,
You watch Pop the Balloon? There's an episode. There was this girl named Waverly on there. I don't know if you remember, but she was super Christian.
yes,
You remember what
I,
I'm talking about? You remember her?
I do.
She popped the balloon on a guy because he said he didn't read his Bible every single waking moment. Like, I didn't hear him say I read my Bible every day. So I just need a guy and that's what I'm talking about. Those are the women that's in the church that stand single. And there's a huge majority of those that are just holier than thou, and they're looking for this guy that if he says I don't read my Bible every single day, they're popping a balloon on him. And that's the problem. That's the problem with church girls.
When you say church girls, are you saying one in which they believe that the man has to follow to a T all the time the text?
I mean, all I mean, just if y'all would go watch that episode, the meticulousness
I
that she
saw it.
was being,
She just didn't want him. She didn't want him.
you can
That that was
you can
that
say
was
that,
a
but
good
she was,
biblical excuse. She just didn't want him.
but I see a lot of Waverleys. You know what I'm saying? And so that's why I didn't want to put this conversation solely in the church, because let's talk about everybody else. Like, just because a woman is not in the church, don't make her not a wife or wife worthy. You know what I'm
Understood.
saying? And that's what takes me back to my original point, where if a woman is open and just willing, you know what I'm saying, or like not combative, she can go to, if a guy's on some sort of a the guy in the pew can take an open, non-combative woman to church, to the pew, and now they are on this holy journey, being married, XYZ, match made in heaven, only because she was open and willing. She could have had not a lick of ever been to church ever, maybe only been on Sundays with her grandma when she was a kid, whatever. She never had, but then she met this guy who just started his journey in Christ. And only because she was open and willing, he was like, "Hey, babe, let's go to church, or let's go to church for our first date. I'm just getting into church. Let's go to church." And she said, "Okay." And from there on in, match made in heaven. So I want to take it out of the women in the church. I don't know why we're focusing on them women in the church,
It was only
because
the first question.
but them
Yeah.
women are like Waverly though. Like, you know what I'm saying? And
It was
that's why
only
I tried to get it out of that. And y'all was just like, "No, let's go here." And I'm like, "Let's get out of that."
No, that's not what happened. I was addressing based upon what Sir Hill had said was the number one thing. And so I went with a question that was centered around his number one thing. But now that we're here, you know what I'm saying? I have no problem in giving a question to you.
Yeah, that
So
was the question, though. We were talking about the question. Yeah.
right. It was just about the question, but it's cool. This is okay. I got one for you. How can men identify a woman who is truly ready for marriage versus one who just likes the idea of it? Prototype. That's a question that's outside of the
A
church.
woman that doesn't tell him no.
What?
That's it. That's it. A woman that don't tell him no.
And so that's the one that's going to be loyal.
The woman that doesn't tell him no.
So if a woman tells you yes, that means she's going to be loyal to you.
I don't think I can't say any woman's going to be into that until they show you that. You know what I'm saying? Until a woman show you she'll be loyal, then you don't know who's going to be loyal. But you
Okay,
start
fair.
with the woman that tells you yes.
Okay, fair. That's where you start. Okay. But what if both of them are telling you yes?
What you mean,
And
both
the
of what?
question is, because the question is, how do you identify a woman that's ready for marriage and not one that's just into the idea of it?
Because the one with the just the idea is not going to be. She's not going to be open minded. She's going to be overly picky, or you know what I'm saying? She's going
A
to be
Waverly is what
goofy,
you think.
huh?
You think she'll be a Waverly?
She'll be a Waverly.
Okay. So who would you say that you can put a visual to that you would say, okay, I can see that she was ready. She probably be ready for marriage.
I don't have any idea. I mean, I don't really remember them all. Like, wait, you know, you only the negatives stick out. You know
That's
what I'm
what it
saying?
looks like because there is one that's most recent, right?
There are some, and I like anytime I watch it, I can be like, she's gonna leave with somebody. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I could tell who's gonna leave with somebody and be like, yeah, she seems kind of cool. Like, she's not being goofy or nothing. Her ideas is normal. You know what I'm saying? It's the one that just be like, you know what? As long as he's cool, he got a good vibe. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not disqualifying you because your shoes. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I can always tell who's not gonna leave empty handed. You know what I'm saying? After the first introduction. So I don't necessarily remember those ones because I know they're gonna go. But
That's
you know
something
what I'm saying?
unfortunate. I think of two off the top of my head, right?
Which one?
Because but I look at them from a position of trying to see how I could understand what's going on in the culture too. There was one where this guy he dressed how he would normally dress, and the ladies popped their balloon because he was dressed so casual. And he said, she said, "So is this how you would dress if we went on a date?" He said, "Yes." And he said, "Well, how would you want a man to dress? Because I see that a man gets picked apart no matter what he wears on here." So I said, he said, "I'm gonna come on here, dress how I would normally dress." All the women popped their balloon except this 23-year-old woman who prior a guy had said she looked like an auntie, right? And he said, this guy that was on, he said the things that he liked. One of the things was animation or anime, and she loved anime. They liked the cartoons and XYZ in that regard, and they looked like they fit together, right?
Yeah,
And she had a very calming demeanor. The guy told her before that she looked like an auntie. However, even though she was 23, she seemed very mature for
yeah.
her age. Okay, another one, the most recent one
I
was.
know there was one recent where the girl was like, "I'm not a follower."
Thank you.
She
Yes,
was like, I'm not a follower like them. So what do you do? Blah, blah, blah. Hey, here we go. And
her
when
mind.
I said that one, her mind, that's what she was open. She wasn't like, she was open. So
That's
being
there.
open is
She
step
was.
one. She
That's
was
to your
open.
point. That is to your point for sure. What you got, Sahil?
So I want to get it off the women just for a brief moment.
We're
The
going to go to that later, but you can
No,
go
no, no,
ahead.
no, no. I'm
Question.
answering this question. So how can a man identify? Is he's got to be ready. I think a lot of times men haven't done what they need to do within themselves to be ready. And it's hard to know what you need until you become who you are, at least to some degree. The reason I attribute some of my success with my wife is because when I married her, I knew what I needed from a wife, but I knew what I was going to be, right? And so it made it easier to weed people out who I know wouldn't fit that. So one of the key things for me is know at least where you're going. Doesn't mean you have to be all the way there yet. It doesn't mean you have to have all the success yet, but you do have to have some plan or some idea of what you would like your life to be. And then that kind of gives you some insight to know who to stay away from. Like if you want to be a medical doctor, it's probably best to stay away from a crackhead, right? Because that's just going to go against where you're going. So when you develop yourself, you take some time and you get your own faith right. You get your own. And I say this to men as well. It's unpopular, but I really do believe it's humble dad. A prototype. I really believe this. Like we can't just be like women out. Don't be out there, being whoremongers. We can't just be like, don't be out there. Y'all stay chaste and y'all stay pure, And then men, you go out there, sow your wild oats, go do what you got to do. I believe you got to develop some discipline as well, because a good woman doesn't want a used up man either. And if he can develop discipline within himself, it gives him power. I don't think men understand the enormous power they have when they have discipline to say no to the pretty face. Like you got power when you can do that. And when you have that type of discipline, you at least have a funneling system. Now you can't get rid of all the bad ones because some know exactly what to do. We got women are cunning for a reason, but you at least have some filtration system. So I think the first key in identifying a woman is you being the man ready for a wife. That at least gives you a leg up and some insight as to what you need. I think that's the first thing. The other part to this, as it relates to women, is my first thing. You will find her serving somewhere. One of the key things about a wife, if she is not anywhere volunteering, she's not serving, she's not caring for the elderly, she's not caring for children, she's not developing those key things that make your life better by being nurturing and showing that she can assist and be a helpmate, it's going to be very difficult. So if you find a woman who is busy doing something that makes a difference, so you're ready, she's serving. This to me is how you identify a woman. She's doing something productive that impacts other people.
That's really good. Prototype, of course. What's your what is your disagreement, my dude? Hey, listen, this roller coaster of agreeing and disagreeing is crazy.
I know, right? But it's absurd to say that a man don't know, can't identify a wife until he's ready. Like I know,
Oh,
maybe it's just me. I don't
That's the
know. Maybe
fallacy.
maybe it's just me, right? But I always knew if a girl was wife type,
let's go.
and regardless if I was ready or not, like, oh, that's a wife right there. You know what I'm saying? Like if a woman's ready, if she's a wife or not. Like I don't. It's crazy to me. Like you know what I'm saying? Like that's I got to be in a certain place for me to identify she's going. No, I know if a girl's a wife.
I
Like
see the opposite of that.
I've smutted out plenty of girls and was like, you know what? I know she's probably going to be a wife. I had no business smutting her out because she was really a good girl, but I smutted her out because she thought that I was going to be a good husband to her. But I was just going to smut her, and I knew I was never going to marry her. But I shouldn't have smutted her because I knew she was here for more than just being a smut. You know what I'm saying? Like, and that was on me to, even though I wasn't ready to be a husband, I knew what I was doing. So you can't say, oh, you got to be in a certain place to identify a girl that's going to be a wife. You know what I'm saying? And the second point, you had a second point about women. What was your second point, Sir?
Well, let's deal with the first part. I think you let the. I think you used the word earlier fallacy. I think you responded to something I didn't say. I as a 19-year-old man when I got married, certainly I wasn't where I should be. I said you have to at least know some part of where you're going, and that way that provides some insight to weed out what you don't need. Right. So you don't have all the details yet, but you at least have something to go off of. Right. So that's what I said. So the second point that I said is that she's somewhere serving. She's doing something productive. She's doing something already that's going to feed her being a wife to you.
Okay, to speak to that point, my experience with that is those women that's doing stuff like that are doing it to stay busy, and you can't like they put that first. They'll be like, "Oh, I'm serving God." You know what I'm saying? Just to use this, I'm serving God. I'm doing this ministry, that ministry. I don't have time for a man. You know, I don't have time for a husband or any of that because I'm serving this ministry. I'm serving that ministry. I'm doing this, and this. I'm working in the church garden. I don't know, the community garden. The women that are out serving and too busy, they don't got time for you. So saying saying that, oh, she's serving and that's going to make her a help to my life, no, it's not. That it doesn't always go apples to apples. Just because you're seeing somebody be a good auntie to somebody, don't make her a good mom to your kids. Like, you know what I'm saying? That's just not how it's going to work all the time. So I understand the thinking behind it, but that don't mean it's true though.
But so do you have a better way that
I was gonna
something
say,
else that we could see that's going to be 100%? This is the key.
I was gonna ask the
She's
same exact.
open and she's not combative.
Openness does not mean integrity. You know, openness. See,
The
I think.
integrity comes
See, I
from
think.
you.
So let me
I
say what
don't
I think
think
is happening here.
women have integrity.
So,
That
so,
comes
so,
from you. You
so,
set the
so
standard as
prototype.
a
Here's
man on her
here's what I think what's
integrity.
happening here. So you have claims and you speak claims as if they're facts, and then when I provide my opinion, you go into detail like you're wrong here. What we're speaking on is not 100%. You can have all the details and still get it wrong. We're saying what gives you a higher percentage of finding somebody quality is somebody who is doing these things. Now, let's do this. Let's do simple
That's what I
statistics.
was given.
Hold on a second. Let's do simple statistics. Is it more probable that you'll find a wife who's going to be a better wife, who is educated in church, than somebody who is doing drugs and who is out being promiscuous? Is it a higher not 100%, but is it a higher probability?
You know, let's not go extremes for the sake of the
Well,
argument. Let's not.
it is a simple yes or no. Is it, when you
No,
say
let's
it's a
not.
better
Give
chance?
me a different, because that's an easy way. I don't want to. Let's not do extremes.
Well, I am doing extremes because I'm doing this to make a
No, because
point.
it's easy to make this. This ain't a Tyler Perry movie, right? Like, you know what I'm saying? It's easy
Like
to see who the
prototype.
bad guy is.
Hold on. So prototype. Listen, if we're going to debate, we got to do it in good faith. My goal here is not to win. My goal, humble that invited me here to give my opinion. Now,
Yeah.
I have been a married man going on 18 years, 20. I'm a relations coach, been doing this for years. I wrote a book about this. So what I'm speaking on is not just something I made up. I've got experience. So I'm going to respect what you say, but hear what I'm saying as well, right? I'm simply making the point here that nothing is 100% because it is possible to get a woman who is on drugs, who's fornicated, and she turns out to be a great wife. Just like it's possible to get a church woman who is a terrible one. I'm simply saying there are no absolutes, but what you do is give yourself a higher chance to find somebody who's doing something productive. That practice that she's doing to help somebody else translates into what she does for you. This is the whole reason why we raise our daughters right. We provide an environment so that she sees a parent, her father and mother, doing productive things. And then we assume that because she's been reared up and nurtured right, that she's going to take those skills and translate those into her own marriage. Do we agree with that?
Nope.
He looking for a disagreement.
Right. And it's really simple stuff here.
I'm not looking for a disagreement. I mean, I
And,
know
and-
it's easy to agree with Sir Hell because
No.
he's terrific at articulating himself.
I
You know what I'm
appreciate
saying? Like he is one of the best articulated people that we sit on the and I'm not that articulate. I get
Don't
it.
forget,
You know what I'm
at
saying?
least
But
I've got evidence too. Now I'm not just a good speaker.
not
I
just
mean, but I have
I didn't get 20 years on accident. It took work to get here.
look. I'm sure.
I'm being serious. Like I got married at 19. Like I took an extremely hard route,
So I don't.
and I dedicated
So
I dedicated
that's
myself
not
to learning this.
qualifying you to me.
So just hear what I'm saying. I dedicated myself to learning this because coming up, I didn't have anybody to give me the wisdom on how to do this marriage thing. But everybody just told me to everybody. The deacons told me to just make money. I'm
Yes.
telling. This is what they told me. They said you just make money, you give her everything she wants, and your marriage is going to work out well. It was the most horrible advice because I'm defining myself by money, defining myself by things, and who I am hinders on what I have. That
Right.
means if I don't have any money, I must be a terrible person, and so I show up poorly. So I'm passionate about this is because men and women are not taught correctly from people who would have like I don't have one of those marriages where everything was picture perfect. I come from homelessness. I come from living with my mother-in-law. I come from not being taken out of school in the third grade and having to get my GED. I'm talking about the rough of the rough. Being a teenage, I got my wife pregnant when I was 19, a teenager, right? I'm talking about I've lived life. And so even though my perspective is not 100%, it does provide value. And I've worked hard because what you guys don't know is because of what I went through, there's sometimes I stutter. But I've worked really hard to articulate myself because I saw a need for people who were struggling in their marriages. They needed somebody with real life experience to speak about the struggles and what it takes to make it work. Right. So nothing you see is by accident. It didn't just drop. My marriage isn't an accident. How I'm speaking isn't an accident. My research isn't an accident. I've had to work really hard because there were millions of people who could be married and be great. They just don't have the tools, particularly if they go through hell. And I want to serve as an example that just because you guys go through difficult times does not mean that it cannot work if you have the tools you need to make it work.
I think that makes a lot of sense. I think what if we're looking for a perfect world, we have to wait till we get to heaven. While we're here, we want to give ourselves the best opportunities to be successful. So, as it relates to how we find someone and who can we look or what can we look to see if they're going to be good for us, we have to have a standard in which we go by. And if we don't, then that's really one of the reasons why I believe that Black people are having such a hard time finding somebody because they're looking for perfection, as you were saying, prototype. You saying that they're looking for perfection, but you can't look for perfection, but you can look, so you can look in a place of parts of perfection that they may have. So a woman who is serving says a lot about her character. Same thing with a man. A man that is disciplined says a lot about how he's going to be in a marriage. And so if we're not able to provide people a way to kind of filter out these other people, then what's the point of even having conversations if we're not trying to give them something to look forward to or look to be able
Because
to identify that?
you you make it you make it too difficult, and y'all don't realize the difficulty you guys are making it. You know what I'm
Okay,
saying? Like,
tell me what
I'm
I
I'm
said.
I'm giving I'm what I give the people is a very baseline understanding of where to start, and you guys are speaking to a level that may or may not be true. Just because, like I said, just because somebody serves, don't mean they'll serve for you. You know what I'm saying? Or apply that same set of skills to
But
your
it's a pretty
relationships.
big indicator that they will because
Listen though, it's
there's
not a
serving.
big indicator because I know nurses that are like who they're nurses, right? You think based off of their profession.
I'm not saying I didn't say profession.
Listen, right? We're talking about serving. And we're talking about what people do in the general, right? So if
Well,
somebody's a nurse, then they're
nurses
taking care of people.
though, nurses
We're
are getting
talking about serving. We're talking about
paid,
serving people.
but not in that regard though. Like I'm not talking. I wasn't talking about it in that.
So what's the
Uh,
difference between a nurse and somebody that dedicates her time to go help old people at a nursing home?
One is doing it because they feel led to and they feel like they need to help someone. The other one wants to get paid. It's a totally different thing. Like, for example, nurses are considered the worst people to date and marry. They
Agreed.
okay, but also so are police officers and men police officers are considered the same.
Agreed.
Okay, so I was not talking, but they both are getting paid to serve. I'm
So
talking about
I'm saying based off of what they do doesn't mean that they'll do it for you.
that's not what I said though. Follow
But
me.
you're adding in. So you're taking. So what you guys are saying is the volunteering aspect of it.
Yeah, that's different.
Is that what you're saying?
I don't know
That's
what
what
Sir Hale
separates.
was talking. Sir Hale can speak for
But
himself.
that's what you're talking about. Because a person volunteers to do that, then that might mean that they're a good
They
person.
have
Is that
a
what you're
better
saying?
propensity
You
to
got a
okay.
better. Is that
Before
what
you
you're saying? Also, Sir Hill.
I don't know.
So I mean, so yes
Can
and
I
no. So I'm
let me go
speaking.
real quick. Let me go real quick, sir, please, because I want to give an example. I'm gonna come right to you for sure. Okay, um, like my Kendra is an individual who I was not sure how she would be in coming into my life, considering that I had lost someone and I had 4 kids, and her situation was much different than mine, right? However, when I was talking to my counselor, he was talking about, listen, if she is doing XYZ, she's showing you some characteristics of what a good wife will look like. Does that mean that I'm gonna be 100% win? No, not necessarily. However, the research shows that I have a better likelihood of having a woman that is going to be nurturing to me as well as to my kids. So what you're saying though is that it's not going to be 100%, and we're agreeing with that statement.
No,
However,
I'm just saying whatever somebody does outside of you. Now, if they're treating you like if she's showing you that, you could take that into account.
you won't
Yes,
know that, but you won't know that from the jump though.
it takes time. It takes time. Like I said, from the jump, all you're looking for is somebody to say yes.
No, that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. That's not what I'm saying. Typically, when we talk about serving, someone would do that because that's in their heart to do, not just because they're paid to do that. One of the big mistakes that a lot of men make is assuming that because she do it for me, that's all I care about. No, she can't do something on you that she hasn't practiced. I'm talking about character. If there's no development there, if there is no structure there, how is she going to perform on you? She hadn't even practiced it. So this is what I'm saying. We come from two-parent homes where you learn structure and stability and discipline. You're setting up, and while these things are not necessarily determinants that it's going to be 100% successful, they are predictors. It's a reason we go to school and we get education. It's a reason why we don't, our insurance rates goes down based on how we drive, based on what we do. Our behavior are predictors on what we will do. And so even though it doesn't predict whether or not we'll get into an accident, if we got a clean driving record, it is a predictor that we might not. We have a likelihood of not doing that. It's the same thing with education and going to church. It's not 100%, but that predictor at least lets us know that we have a likelihood of success. So that's what I'm saying.
Yeah. Do you believe that there's no hope, Proto? Is that what you're saying?
No, I believe there's plenty of hope. I'm saying a girl that never gave nobody head starts to give me head, and she could get good at giving me head, and I'm good with that, even though she's never gave nobody else head.
But
That's
how
what's
does
that ethics. That's what's that ethics.
yeah.
This is I'm not she was I'm not sure what we're talking about here.
But
So
that's what I'm talking about, right? That's
I know.
it's the same line. Just 'cause if somebody does something for you, you can take that into account. But just because they do it outside, don't mean they're going to
You,
do it for you. Because
you're,
they could give, like, if there's girls that give your homeboy the best head, and your boy be like, man, she gave me the best head ever, and then you be like, well, let me try to smack, and she don't give you no neck, and then you be like, man, she ain't give me no neck.
but
So
I think that you're missing it though, Proto.
I'm not missing
Because
it.
you are, you know what I'm saying? You swinging all strikes because when we're literally agreeing with you
It's like
that
slam dunk.
it's not necessarily that it's going to happen to you. Sir Hell, did we not say that? What you're saying, that is a true statement. However, the chances increase is what we're talking about. We're trying to get to the point of what's most likely. So the study showed that a family, husband and wife that prays together and goes to church together on a regular basis has I think a 0.01% chance of divorce. Are there going to be divorces in Christian marriages that go to church and pray together? Yes, but the likelihood is slim. That's what we're saying. That we got to give people a particular point. Like when you say open, okay, well, we didn't go against open, but that's a place to
Sir
start.
Hell did go against open. Every time I say open and willing, he like no. So he
no.
did. He's going against my open statement.
Okay.
Fallacy. What I said is it's not just open. I said that the rudiments of that she has to have a relationship with God so that in her openness, she understands what to not be open to.
And
So
I'm saying her relationship with God can be non-existent as long as you have a path in relationship
You
with
know what?
God,
You know what? I
and
got
she's
what I'm about
open,
to do.
you can bring her to God.
For the next 60 seconds, I'm going to do prototype because I don't think he understands. So prototype, it's not 100%. You can have a woman who's open to you. She might be open to everybody else as well. Ain't no guarantee that just because she's open to you, she's not going to be open to somebody else.
Ain't no guarantees.
Thank you. Now
But
you agree
I'm
with me.
not saying there's a guarantee. I never said there was a guarantee.
You're
I'm saying
debating
how
my
to get
point as
started.
if I said that there's a guarantee. See, this is why mirroring is
You
so important.
you
I
said
just
Good.
use your logic, and
you
then
did
once I
not use
use
my
your logic,
logic. You
now
guys
you
are just
understand my point.
You guys didn't use my logic. You guys are both misunderstanding me. Like I don't. Maybe it's not on purpose. Maybe it's not. Maybe you guys are being genuine and you just don't
You know
understand.
what? You know what? And I'll take that. Maybe I am, and I'm open to getting an understanding.
Yeah,
I'm gonna be open too. Is that okay?
yeah. I mean, as long as you're open. But
I'm
all I'm
always
talking about is just getting started.
I'm trying
You
to.
guys are
I'm
saying
trying to incorporate your logic to see, and it's like you won't receive it. I'm telling you, I'm open to being wrong and open to learning.
yeah.
I just use your argument against you. I'm not sure what
but
you
you used
said.
it. You used it against me wrong though. You didn't use it
No,
right.
no,
And that
no,
told
no.
me. I'm glad you did that
I
because it told
wasn't
me that you
using
didn't
your logic
understand
for
me.
myself. I was showing you how your logic sounds.
Like I, s-
I
like
just
I
used your
said, I
logic
might not
towards
be the most articulate guy. Shout out to you, Sir
but
Hell.
but,
You know what I'm
let's
saying?
not use
But
that.
Yeah.
Let's not use that
it is
because
what it is.
let's not use that because that pits this person against. No, we're just talking.
I'm not pitting nobody against each other. I'm just saying.
What I'm saying is
I'm
that there
saying
is no 100%
I
way
can
that your
misunderstand.
method is going to work. There's no 100% my method is going to work. But what we
Right.
can do is take the best of what you know and the best of what I know, and let's give people a better chance at picking the right spouse.
Yeah, and that's all we always do here on the show anyway. You know what I'm saying? Because how was it said? Is there are no absolutes. There are no absolutes, but we want to give people the best opportunity to have a successful marriage as possible. I know I do. That's the reason why I do the show, and I know that's where Sahel and I know Prototype deep down. That's where you're trying to come from because you said previous shows ago that you want to have your children to be able to have individuals that have come from a two-parent household so that you believe that your children will have a better opportunity to marry well. So even in your previous statements, you understand that there is a baseline for there to be good marriages, so that when they produce those kids, that those kids can have an opportunity to marry your kids who you're trying to raise well. So I think that we're arguing about semantics to a degree. So Helen and I are actually agreeing with you that there are no absolutes. There is no 100% that any of what we're saying is going to work. But as a person who uh, has a person that has lost somebody and then remarried, I can give people a totally different perspective on what it looks like to find someone in this particular space where they're saying there are no marriageable women and there are no marriageable husbands, right? I just debunked that, and there are also other people that are debunking it as well. We're just trying to give them the best opportunity as possible. It's been a dope show with just the three of us, gentlemen.
Oh, this is it. But listen,
I
I know you
wasn't
got more
done.
questions.
Listen, y'all. I'm gonna give you about 10, 15 more minutes. I got one more question, and I already thought about what I want my topic to be next week,
Oh, sure.
centered around which I was talking about, and it's going to be more centered around why isn't church girls getting married, right? Why aren't church girls getting married? Would it be better to marry somebody outside of the church or inside the church? Because based on what the argument is, it's like, where do you find these women? If we're not in the church and not outside of the church and they open, but like where they open at, you know what I'm saying? So that's something for what we'll talk
I
about.
think we know where they open at Humble Dad. I don't know if we want to do that show. Not sure what we're talking about over here.
Where they open
I have
it.
one last question before we get out of here. This has been really dope. Let's see. What oh, did I want to do that one? I'm gonna let y'all choose. Okay, I got one that says, what are the biggest misconceptions men have about marriage-minded women? Or um what impact has hookup culture had on women who genuinely desire marriage?
I can answer both of those.
Yeah. Is it one question or two?
I'm asking which one y'all want to address. This is gonna be our last question.
What's the first one?
The first one is, what are the biggest misconceptions men have about marriage-minded women? The second one is, what impact has hookup culture had had on women who genuinely desire marriage?
I think that's the same question actually. Only because the biggest misconception men have about marriage minded women is this is where what Sir Hell said earlier plays a part. If he's not ready, he will easily take advantage of uh, um, a marriage minded woman because she is a marriage minded woman to me is someone open, willing, and ready to mold herself to that man. You know what I'm saying? So she gets abused or mishandled, mistreated because she is in the hands of a wolf. You understand what I'm saying? Um, so I think that question is just one of the same. So hookup culture, if she links up with a man who's coming from hookup culture, then all he's doing is hooking up. You understand what I'm saying? And while she's trying to actually date or find somebody that's long term, he's just hooking up. He's thinking, oh, it's no big deal. Yeah, we had sex. It's no big deal. It's nothing to you. And she's like, I'm open and willing to, what I mean, being submissive. And he's probably like, but you're like that with everybody. Tense to what y'all was saying. You're like that with everybody, probably. And she's like, really, I'm not. I like you. I
What
thought you
you said,
no, this
she gave.
you said, what if she's open to everybody? So this guy who's coming from hookup culture is thinking because she's open to me, she must be open to everybody. And she might be genuinely liking the guy and acting open towards him because she's ready. So that's why the question is the same: is she if a marriage minded woman, and a marriage minded woman to me is somebody that's submissive and open and willing. That's a marriage minded woman to me. If she gets in the hands of somebody that's in hookup culture, she gets abused.
Okay, sir, what you got?
All right, humble dad. I'm going to call my therapist immediately following this show. I got to get cleansed. So, so this is a good question, and I'll say this very simple thing: is the biggest misconception is that a marriage-minded woman is done, like she's fully ready. And I think this is one thing that people mess up going into marriage is like, he got to be all there, she got to be all there, and it's like, no, y'all got a lot of growing to do. Y'all have to have the foundation, but the foundation is not the house. Y'all got to do that part. Like God lays that foundation. Y'all got to get the wood and the the flooring and the windows. Y'all got to build together. And I think sometimes, depending on what stage you are, the assumption is the woman got to be all the way ready, and there's not a lot of work. And that's just not the way marriage works. Not, because biologically we don't stay the same, psychologically, emotionally. So you have to you prototype. You have to be open to change and open to growing, because this is necessary to develop and to make sure that you don't get so locked in where what a person was that you can't accept them for what they're becoming and what they're changing into. So nobody is all the way there. You've got work to do. And I think that's one of the misconceptions men have about marriage-minded women.
That is really good. One of the things that I believe that men have about misconceptions about marriage-minded women is that the woman has to be the only one bringing something to the table to complete him. Well, us as men should be looking for women we can also pour into, and that are a part of that openness, that submissiveness, and that this is an individual that I can also help mold into being who God has created her to be. Oftentimes we hear, "What are you going to do for me?" When in fact, we're supposed to be servant leaders. So we're supposed to be serving the woman that is going to be in our life. And I think the misconceptions that men have is that the woman's supposed to just be a yes person, when this is supposed to be an individual that's a part of your council, an individual that's able to say, you know what, I like that idea, but this right here may sound a little better. What do you think? Or that idea doesn't seem to be working with the plan that you already said you wanted to do. So how about maybe you can come up with something different than that. So I believe that where we are today is that men kind of live in the in a mindset of that whatever he says goes, which it can be that way, but I don't think that that would be a healthy way of delivering or following through with a productive marriage. Your wife should have the ability to communicate to you whether she disagrees or agrees. And agreeable doesn't always mean that she's going to say yes to what you're saying. What you got, Proto?
I agree with you. Those women are just few and far between.
No, you don't. She can't say no.
No, I just agree. I agree with what he said. I never said that.
In the beginning, so didn't you say she can't say no?
No, I said a woman that says yes. I ain't say she can't say no. You know what I'm saying? I'm saying she.
That is true.
Oh, I'm gonna rewind that tape.
I said a woman that says yes. I don't mean she can't say no. I'm just saying she says yes.
I
Like when
stand
you ask
corrected.
her, "Hey, you want to go to the
Take the
store?"
shot off.
Yes. You want to go? I need to go to Walmart. You want to go? Yes. I need to take a road trip. Yes. I need to do this. Yes. I want to start a business. Yes. I'm not. You know, she don't say no. I mean, she could if it's a bad idea. I'm gonna start selling this weed. No. No. Yeah, I'm gonna hit the street. No.
But that means she's not open.
Mm-hmm.
That means
that means she is open. That means she is open because if you're doing something that's going to put you in jail, and she's saying no to it, that means she is open to you being in her life forever, and she is closed, and she is closed to you not being there. That's what that means. You know what I'm saying? So when the moment she starts telling you not to mess up, then that's her saying, I am open to you being around me for the rest of my life. I want you here. And right now you're jeopardizing our community right now. So that's a no. So she is still open.
That is hilarious. Listen, if you watch this back, bro, you gonna be like, man, I double talked a couple different times.
No, I didn't. Y'all just not listening. It's cool though.
And
I understand that y'all didn't understand me, or I understand that I might not articulate myself correctly. Either or, I'm fine with. You know what I'm saying? But I'm satisfied with what happened here today.
So you my dude already. Hey, Sir Hale, we're about to wrap it up. You have anything to say before we get out of here, bro?
Yeah, thanks for letting me on the show tonight. I really appreciate it. I don't do a whole lot of lives. I don't go on a lot of panels just because I've really taken myself out of the algorithm to research and reshape how I present this. So thanks for letting me sharpen my skills here. A prototype is always good to debate you. Black men have to continue researching, getting involved in the word, understanding it, because we are the leaders and people listen to what we say. And I think we've got to show up sharp, we got to show up ready, and we've got to show up precise because people really are listening to us. And so I hope everybody who was watching got something from it, got some entertainment, maybe got stressed out a little bit, maybe took a Tylenol. I hope that everybody had a good show. Salute to you, Humble Dad Prototype, and to the amazing chat. And salute to my wife. I saw you in the chat as well. Love you, love.
Hey, that's what's up. Shout out to Miss Hale. Hey, Proto, you got anything to say before we get out?
No, I'll see y'all next week.
Hey, anybody that's listening and watching, make sure y'all subscribe to the channel. It's always a pleasure to share my ideas and my thoughts with the people that come on the panel. Shout out to my other cast members that were not able to make it for obvious reasons. Hey, Laos, make sure you get better quickly. And to everyone else that watches it, I really appreciate you because this can't happen if you ain't watching. But I'm still do it. But I think it's more better or more better, however you want to say it, right? That it's better when y'all are here. Until next time, we out here. Deuces.
The boy is dangerous. Seem to understand something.
The thing that I like most about being a dad is that I see that I'm about to impact the world.